Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining what is the 35th AMA for Kula. Um, my goodness. Thanks for joining on Zoom, or if you're live with us on X, we appreciate your attendance. We're grateful for this community and everybody that follows us on socials, supports us by investing in the token, maybe invested prior to token launch. We're grateful for all of you. And this is our AMA. It stands for Ask Me Anything. We are Kula. If you're not familiar with Kula, maybe you're new to our AMAs. Essentially, we are an impact investment vehicle. We look to invest into natural resources and real world assets, frankly, all over the world. And then that goes into our treasury, and the treasury backs the value of our token. But the bigger, more important aspect of what we do is we like to include the communities in every investment we make. So if we're investing into a natural resource, we identify a local community that's impacted by that natural resource, and we profit share with them, but also give them governance. We give them a voice a lot of times for the first time. And we give them a voice around that particular asset and really give them some power involved in really what impacts them on a daily basis. So that's really short bottom line of what Kula is and what we do. And today is our AMA. So when we're done with updates, and frankly, they're short updates, and we'll tell you why. But once we're done with updates, if you can go ahead and put your questions into the Q&A box so that we can address those once we're done with updates. As you see, Sam is traveling today, so he won't be joining us. But really, in the grand scheme of things, Kula is continuing to make huge strides. While we are building and pursuing more regional DAOs, we're also building and organizing our company as a whole, our entire entity. And that is quite broad and actually quite fascinating if you kind of dig into the way we're structured. But we have been working for the better part of about 18 months now, looking for the right banking partner. And after meeting with banks, frankly, in different countries, discussing with them our process and our business model, we have now settled and partnered with a banking solution for Kula. So we're very excited about that. That's honestly one of our last remaining hurdles. And I say one of our last remaining hurdles because we ask you to, the reason that our AMA is going to be so short today is because many of the announcements are going to be coming out here as PRs, as news articles, as social media posts. So please keep your eyes peeled in the very, very short term for some key announcements being made really worldwide. So with that, go back to our organizational structuring. We're just excited to see Kula take shape, really as a corporate structure, but also as our token. The way the token has been holding value and maintaining just that market presence, we're very excited about that. So grateful to be a part of this company. Grateful to have you guys on board with us. And Chris is going to talk a little bit about what we've done as far as regional DAO development.
Thanks, Micah. Yeah, no, it's great to be with you guys. Last AMA, we couldn't make it. We were all traveling in various different places. So we had some of the guys from the marketing team and just investment team presenting and updating the community on what's been going on. We've had a really busy, it's what now 10 weeks since we launched the Kula token, and that has genuinely flown past. But of course, what we're doing, we're working really hard to get all of the key announcements and the movement in place so that we can be making really great announcements now up until October when some of our first vesting schedules open, and basically really excited about all that's been done in the last month when a lot of the work we've been initiated has come to fruition. So as Micah said, there's lots of news to come. But nevertheless, there are some things we can share. And I think one of the the main highlights of this last month, 6 weeks or so, was the time we were down there in Kenya in Africa. A good number of the Kula team were all together for about a week and then 2 weeks in total on the ground. And in that short period of time, we were able to establish a new business in the country, hire staff, and to oversee the potential new opportunities that presented themselves, which we've kind of been looking at for about a year, but it just felt like, okay, this is the right time to really push forward on some of these things. And one of the great pieces of news that we can share was we've just signed a new MOU with a new company that does renewable energy motorcycle transport and last mile logistics in Kenya. And this is working with a population of about 3 million, a community of about 3 million people in Kenya. And it doesn't matter whether you buy a mattress or whether you buy your groceries at the store, you usually get that home on the back of a motorbike, which you can have some great shots of various different pieces of house furniture on the back of motorbikes. As you drive around, as you get around, not just Kenya, but East Africa altogether. But this company is really innovative because it's actually taking the emerging market for electric renewable motorbikes and providing a really robust solution to that with telemetrics and the data acquisition and understanding algorithms that sit behind how that business operates. So we've just signed the MOU and we're now going into some good due diligence with that project. In Kenya, we've also been looking at other opportunities in the commodities markets also in East Africa from Kenya. And we've got some, in due course here, we'll have some more announcements about what those projects are. And we're really excited about how those can unfold. And then in addition to that, we're also looking, one of the big things that we need to do is start deploying capital to projects that we've already pre-vetted. And we're in that process of understanding where we do that and what we allocate and prioritize those projects as. But also, there's been a number of new projects since we've launched where we've been approached by different projects around the world, actually, of would we be interested in investing in their particular project asset value proposition, whatever that would be. So again, there's some really wonderful things lined up. That's really forced us to really understand what's our investment mandate, how do we structure and understand those opportunities in a way that allow us to be really efficient and make sure that we're honoring the responsibilities that we've been entrusted with through the structure we've developed. And we'll soon be able to propose those back to the DAO for your guys' engagement and consideration through the DAO function. So that's also another update just to quickly share with you. Our dev team have been working fantastically this last about 8 weeks now on making the app, our own in-house app, fully integrated with the blockchain back and smart contracts that we developed that are reflective of the constitution. So we are now in the second phase of that development, and we had all these contracts developed before launch, but we didn't want to launch them at the time that we launched the token because we wanted to make sure that the process was fully debugged and fully operational. And had that been a headline at launch, it wouldn't have been great for the actual token launch for Kula. So we've been working now for the last 8 weeks on really perfecting that process and that system. And we are now going into a second round where we are bringing people from our community, and also some of our early investors are going to be part of that second month. So throughout July, we'll be testing it with external people. And then moving into August and September, we'll be launching it completely fully to the entire community. So it really points to, hey, you want to participate, buy the token. There's real utility that sits behind it. It means that you can really be a part of the process where we present decisions to be made to the community on investments to make, where the community wants to make proposals to us about which direction we should go in and what we can consider. And it's really exciting. So there'll be a lot more information coming out. There'll be a whole new web page that explains how that all operates and works in a more simple way for people. And we're really excited to see that also unfold. So there's lots of development going on behind the scenes. And now as we kind of get to that tipping point of them coming to, like, actually being ready and deployable, we'll be letting you guys know in this next week. So please, as Micah said, I just want to say, keep your eyes peeled to our social media. There are some really good announcements coming, which we know the entire community is going to both enjoy and be excited about. Honestly, it does feel like after 3 years of consistently, we're at what, AMA 35, and after 3 years of working hard, we're now at those points where we see these tipping points just going one after the other, and that's really gratifying and really exciting to see what's coming. So keep watching this space, and we'll have a lot more announcements going out even this week. So that's the rest of my updates.
Yeah, we all head out to London next week, and I say we, our board. We're going to have our first quarterly board meeting out there in London, and so we're flying from Taiwan, from the UK, or not from the UK, from the US, from Dubai, and all meeting in London to really have our official first quarterly board meeting. So a lot of things are going to be decided at that table. That's going to be an intense time for the board members, the founders and the board members. It's also going to be a wonderful time of planning, just moving forward, planning out annual budget, planning out capital deployments, planning out in what order do we pursue this laundry list of regional DAOs that are on the chopping block right now or on deck for us. So a lot of things are going to be decided next week. As Chris said, also watch for the end of this week and next week for these marketing campaigns, really announcements. And we say it's going to be very, very valuable and important for us and our company. But honestly, it could also impact the crypto world, the crypto industry. So we're again just excited about what we've done, and we are proud to announce our progress here in the coming days. So with that, do we have questions already? We do.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer the first one. Jump in here. That's good. This is 35th AMA. What are the most significant milestones or updates Kula has achieved recently, and how do they align with your long-term vision for the DAO, for the community? I think, I mean, obviously, my first response to that is going to be we got the token launched. I think I have these days when I think if I could go back 3 years and talk to myself, what would I actually say to myself? I don't think I ever anticipated how difficult it would have been to simply quote unquote launch a token. But the layers and the complexity that's behind that isn't just about the dynamics of writing a smart contract and sticking it on a blockchain. We've worked so hard on the regulatory component of the project, so hard on learning and understanding how to make smart and wise investments into different projects, and making mistakes along the way in all of these and learning from it and recalibrating and pushing out into what is really an industry in its infancy still. And I think that's partly why, you know, there's no roadmap to follow. And there are other people that have launched projects, yes, but this is probably one of the first projects that has consistently tried to stay within the regulatory parameters and regulatory parameters for sure. And whether regulated or not, we've built smart contracts and a constitution and our legal frameworks that are compliant to all of the world systems, but then also in this private equity space where there's governance also connected to that in a community-based structure. That's really unique, and there is no roadmap for that. And we've honestly learned some hard lessons, but I think forged a path that others will look at and follow. And so I think that's been really wonderful to see the token launch, get it out, and a major milestone. And I think the reality of that is that the most interesting thing I've discovered personally in this last 10 weeks is talking about Kula after launch is so radically different to talking about Kula before launch. It's no longer a theoretical ideal if we're going to get to a point when we launch a token and this is what it's going to look like. And there's almost a different level of credibility and interest and I would say respect in some ways of like, oh, you actually launched the token. Well, then you did what you said you were going to do. And that's meant the conversations are on a completely different footing because it's not that common to have achieved and done. So I think for me, those would probably be two of the main milestones from my side.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think one major milestone that I'll brag on Chris and Sam and our development team. We actually coded values into smart contracts. I think that's a pretty cool milestone of ours. When we start seeing our computer code reflect our actual values as a team, that was a big win. So that we know the longevity of this project should continuously reflect what we built and our hearts behind this project. So, but launching, of course, I mean, you ask us 10 weeks after launching is going to be the biggest milestone of it. And then again, I'll go back to these announcements coming up. You're going to see more milestones hit in these press releases and media outlets. So,
I have one more as well. I want
oh
to
yeah,
share. I think I, you know, we're a geographically remote team, so we're from the Philippines right over to the States across I think 17, 18, 19 time zones. So earlier this year, Micah has had the privilege to meet and work with Tamrat Lane, who was the former Prime Minister from Ethiopia, and really on the basis of that relational development over in the States, it's like, yes, this is a really wonderful move for Kula. But I got to work with Tamrat one-on-one for about a week in Kenya, and then through his contacts, we also were able to recruit Senator Samuel Poghisio from Kenya to be part of our team as well. And I think talking to them both was actually really fascinating. And the reason I'm saying this is because what you just referenced about values, Micah, um, their interest as senior statesmen, really both locally and regionally and even internationally, uh, and the interest in Kula as a vehicle and a mechanism to address many of the issues they've seen throughout their career, and their willingness not just to be employed by Kula, but be part of Kula in the community and actually serving and working within it and being eager to do so, I think for me spoke volumes about the quality of the project and the framework in which we built it. And that was for me a very significant milestone, because it's one thing to attract good talent, but when we're attracting kind of like at the top of the game international elite talent like that, I think it's just been really fantastic and super encouraging and actually quite humbling, because I learned so much from them just in that very short time. And where do you get that level of experience in life normally, and that level of exposure? And it's been quite fascinating and quite wonderful to have seen that develop this last, well, for me, this last month, 6 weeks.
excellent. The next one says, I've noticed a drop in trade volume. Any reason for this? It was pretty steady, and now it's dropped over the last 48 hours. Yeah, I mean, we are really on two exchanges at this time. And MEXC, not that we've necessarily exploited all of the traders in MEXC, or all of the investors that MEXC has to offer. But there's a reason why we are constantly pursuing more and more exchanges. And these, we have exchanges that are very close, where we can sign on the dotted line and press go here in the next couple of days if we wanted to. We've also have conversations with tier ones. So this is something that has always been on our radar. We know eventually if you don't grow as far as exchanges go, yeah, people are going to lose interest, because essentially you're reaching out to one exchange's market. Every exchange has a different market, a different group of investors. And so our goal is to continually pursue more exchanges. And as we get to the larger tier ones, then we'll start to see kind of that steady Eddie volume every day. So that's more on the executives and the board, because that's our goal, and our job is to grow this company. So we will continue pursuing exchanges and increase that daily volume. So thank you for that question. Great question.
Next question here is who is currently on the board of Kula? At the moment, there's 4 of us formally. There is up to position for I think 7 or 9. I think it's 7. I might be wrong.
Yeah, it's 7.
there are currently 3 executive directors, which would be Micah, Sam, and myself as the founders. And then it's four non-executive director slots, of which 1 is now filled. And that gentleman is someone that's been with the project and working with us and relating with us for probably about 2 to 3 years. And his name is Chris Ziegler from the States. And he is working in a really interesting and innovative industry with genuinely incredibly forward-thinking futuristic technologies. And really, it's a privilege to have him with us just from a conceptual space and a business side, but he's also very well connected globally, and a lot of the relationships that we've been able to glean and garner in Kula's development have come through Chris. And we've also just had a first kind of soft interview with someone in the last couple of weeks or so for that next slot, and we've got a few other people lined up for the remaining slots. And what we're really looking for is people that are at the top of their game, have extensive executive experience, they know how to be non-executive directors, and support as well, but also bringing that edge, the heavy hitting, globally influential and well-connected individuals that can help Kula grow and move forward. And so we've got now a number of people lined up to start looking at and bringing into those positions, which again is some of the announcements that you'll be hearing about in these coming weeks.
See, where does the Kula team see itself in a position globally in 3 to 5 years from now? Obviously, we're like I said before, we're continuing to grow, and even just from my position and what I've done as a founder, the regional DAOs that I've pursued, I've seen the conversations go from local artisanal miners to sitting with ministers of finance and prime ministers, and even getting invitations from a king. And it's that scaling of conversation that really leads me to believe that there is a scope for Kula much larger than we even ever imagined. And that's true from the day the first day that Kula white paper was written 4 years ago. It has changed wildly, and the scope of Kula has grown to a scale that we were never expecting. And I think I'm convinced that the scale of Kula is still not done growing. The way we can reach to not just artisanal business owners or small business owners, but also nations as a whole, it's quite exciting. And that conversation has already begun with a handful of countries, and it's going to continue to grow. So obviously, I don't want to speculate. We're not going to talk about the price of token or anything like that, but the conversations are just getting larger. The people, the audience is becoming really people with incredible power, or heads of states. So yeah, really the scope of Kula is just unlimited at this point, and it's quite exciting for us.
That's great. Next question here is, with additional regional DAOs coming in after launch, do these projects align with Kula's intentions, and do you have a plan or a process on how to prioritize these projects as they come in? So if I can answer the second question first, because it then answers the first. And we do have a process by which we vet. So we realize pretty quickly that there's several key parameters that are most important for us now, and they will change in time. So where we're looking at, good solid projects that can create return on investment quickly, and that's obviously really important as we're at the earlier stage of now developing the business on the back of the token launch. And yeah, also we're not just an investment company, we're an impact investment company. So the import of making sure there's local communities or local facing stakeholders in any particular project, and that their lives are being changed, or they're able to start being empowered to have different sets of choices because of this particular project in their backyard, is also really critically important to us. But we went through, there's about 11 different metrics that we measure projects against. And immediately as we filter through that grid, some of those projects don't align with Kula's intentions. So they kind of get put to not the back of the queue, but into a fourth. We have actually got four different result outcomes that we put these projects to, and they end up in the fourth one, which is not a rejection, but it's a, hey, maybe we'll look at this in 6 to 12 months if there's a scope and financial means to address it. Those projects that go straight into the first bucket almost, and they are a priority, and then we move them quickly to an enhanced level of due diligence, which may mean putting someone on the ground. So we just recently had a consultant. Actually, we've had consultants on the ground in Zambia and consultants on the ground in Malaysia in the last 6 weeks. Actually, these are good questions because it makes us update on things we forget to update on because they're so normal to us. It's like we've had actual professionals, and again, Kula's not. We're not a timber project. We're not a mining project. We're an impact investment vehicle. So we look for and hire the very best professionals in these sectors and these industries to vet our projects for us because they know what they're doing and they understand what's a good investment or not. And we have learned better to spend some money and maybe even lose some money on a project by vetting it well, than investing in a dud and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. So we've had those guys out and on the ground, and that would be an enhanced level of due diligence. And once we've got to a level then of financial understanding of the project, the impact, the scope against these different metrics, we sign off on it if we're going to move forward, and that decision will then be coming to the DAO. So if you hold tokens, you'll actually be able to vote on agreeing with that's a great project, we should invest in it, and be part of that conversation with us in the DAO space as it opens up later this year. So we're working on that type of process, and that gives us, I hope that gives an idea of those parameters. And secondly, we've also worked on a full stack of clear metrics. So where do we expect and need these projects to see positive change? And that's aligned against sustainable development goals that allow us to integrate to things that are really important to investment vehicles, mutual funds, family offices, because they often have to meet a certain level of compliance in where they invest. So we've aligned our projects to those frameworks so that it makes it easy for larger institutions to invest in the Kula token and know that they're buying outcomes that they're actually responsible to deliver through their investments. So we've been working on that as well.
Great. The next question says, is engaging with KOLs with a massive following a part of your exposure strategy? To an extent, yes. And really, Kula is positioned quite strategically with the project that we've built. I think it's roughly 6% of the world is invested in crypto right now. And so most crypto projects, that's the market that you have to market yourself to. That's your audience that you're trying to grab to buy your token, 6% of the population. But because of the way we're doing things, because of our investment model, because of our business model, because of even some announcements coming out here very shortly, we are open to a much broader audience. We can market to institutions, not just institutions that are comfortable investing in crypto or have an institutional account with MEXC. We have pathways for institutions to invest in our token, frankly, without even being familiar with crypto at all. And so we're not just marketing to the 6% of the world that is investing in crypto. We're actually marketing to all of traditional finance. We're marketing to the world. And that's what's really exciting about what we're building. So while we will have KOLs, and basically KOLs it's influencers, right? Social media influencers and people do this for a living, where they get on social media and tout a token for a week or a couple days. That's great for some hype and some excitement, but it doesn't bring long-term interest in your project, or maybe brings a small crowd in as long-term followers. But what we're marketing to is not just the crypto world, but the traditional finance world as well, and that positions us really strategically in the space that we're in. So while you will see some influencers, talking about Kula at key times. We did it before launch. We will do it, when we start launching our platform. There will be other key times that we hire social media influencers and KOLs. But we're also traveling and meeting with ultra high net worth family offices, ultra high net worth institutions, and other traditional and finance investors. So yeah, we have a much broader market than most tokens do.
The next question that's coming here is which platform is Kula planning to launch on next? We were actually asked not to disclose this week because it loses the buzz for the actual exchange and their marketing process and how they see things. So at the moment, the answer is it's coming, and
Yeah,
you'll
unfortunately, yeah.
you'll see next week if you stick close to our socials which that is. And there's now a plan over the next, I'd say 3 to 6 months of adding additional exchanges in a systematic way, in a measured and managed way. And that goes back to the question that Mike was answering earlier about volume and managing the different market makers and the overall investment market that we're going for on the retail side. And we've also then got some more institutional irons in the fire, shall I say, in terms of creating more market to that larger financial market that also Mike was talking about. So they're all kind of now stacked up, ready to go. And we're fairly clear about the process, and then working with our external partners that are supporting us and helping us to do that well with all the logic and the support that is necessary. Just recently, earlier this year, there was a fairly large, similar to Kula type project that pretty much overnight was completely liquidated and had some fairly large impact on the markets. But we're learning from that. So these external partners that we lean on to get that support are really also working with us and helping us manage the risk and counterparty risk to make sure that we keep moving ourselves forward and growing as a project and growing out into market rather than being stifled by and being captured into or backed into a corner within a market. And that's been really great, actually learning a lot from that process too. And so yeah, that's been the process, and so there'll be more to come. Keep again, I feel like we say this quite a lot on AMAs, but keep your eyes peeled to the socials. I'm looking forward to the day. Here's the announcement, but yeah, there'll be some stuff coming here soon.
Next question is one we've been talking about for years. Kula provides a voice for many people who never had the capital to have a voice previously. With that, Kula takes some market share away from the corrupt big capital. Have you thought about a future where the corrupt big capital starts launching attacks to push Kula out? How can we defend against those power moves? Chris, do you want to talk about DAO and governance here?
Yeah. I mean, very honestly, I've had nights staying awake about that question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a big question. It's a great question because it is actually speaks to very hard what we're attempting to do. I think I remember we were in a meeting with a regulator, I think in the Middle East, and I realized, okay, we're creating this opportunity for capital flow that normally starts here and goes over here from the uber wealthy to the uber wealthy, and we're kind of operating this middle where that wealth is now going in this direction and missing out the guys. And I thought that's a problem for us potentially one day. And so we've worked really, for those that do care, one day there'll be, I think, papers written about what we've built on the governance side because it's quite involved and quite integrated. And there's been an awful lot of hard conceptual work and hard fought for authority, I think. And I don't want to big us up or sound big-headed saying that. It's just a reality. We've worked really conscientiously and tried to think through, if we are our worst enemy, how do we defend against what I would do to us if I could, kind of question, and that almost like taking the anti-position to build structures and systems and ways of thinking. And even that doesn't guarantee there isn't a way through. And I think one of the realizations that hit me recently was, oh, we've built this system, but we're going to have to keep evolving it, stay on edge, because what we've built will be obsolete in a couple of years because the market will move and things will become more savvy, and also there'll be new ways of technology. And I got the privilege of meeting a wonderful gentleman just 2 or 3 weeks ago that I think is streets ahead in terms of governance and how he understands cryptographic tools on governance at even national level electoral verification. And I thought, wow, this is just brilliant in terms of where we can go, that then protects against the corrupt big capital or corrupt big interests. So we've worked really hard at that. We've got a very clear triangulated system in our governance process that allows no single group to accrue either value or power to itself. Triangulating decision making always creates that flow between the three. And that actually, to be honest, comes out of the US Constitution. And there's a reason why a country has built a significant level of wealth based on the back of that, because triangulated governance is key to stopping power consolidating to one or two individuals, one or two bodies. So we've worked really hard at that, and we've also built in algorithmic processes to our smart contracts that minimize power. So if someone that's got 1 million tokens comes to try to vote, they actually don't have 1 million votes. They get far less because it's algorithmically treated to stop the powerful becoming more powerful. And we've also got some other functions in our smart contracts that delay the voting process, so no one can flash loan tokens to make a decision move in their direction and make more money. We actually look back down the block stamps on the technological side to mitigate some of those risks. None of it's perfect, but we've done as much as we can to mitigate that abuse of power. And then fundamentally, it comes down to building an engaged and caring community, which is really interesting because that's the hard work of what Kula will really be about over the next 3 to 5 years. It's only ever going to be as strong as the community that engages with it. And if we get to a place where there's passivity or people just kind of want to be passive investors, that's okay. But the dependency that we have in the system is that everyone engages to the level that they can in this system, and that will also be really important to the long term support of not finding ourselves in a position where vested interests or central players do get that power back. And so that would be some of my early answers. And I think one of the things I am looking forward to for those that would be interested to participate is having a much more in-depth discussion and even kind of event around our governance, and including people that can contribute and help us keep developing and evolving that model so that we don't end up in that situation.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, well said, Chris, by the way, well done. The only thing I would add to that is, again, we talk over and over about us being a Web 2.5 project, that everything we're building in the Web 3 space, we're actually mirroring in the Web 2 space. We've got real world entities that mirror everything that we're doing on the digital side of things. And so when Chris talks about, technology going obsolete, I mean, if the technology disappeared tomorrow, we would still have a traditional investment vehicle. And we've already built the infrastructure where Kula would not disappear. And we just have such a robust infrastructure that while it would be really easy for the corrupt to attack a traditional pure token project, it would be much harder for them to attack a real world entity that's fully compliant, that is, operating internationally on so many different levels. And that's what we've built. So we have quite a few safety measures. Is it impossible to attack us? No, of course not. I mean, you're going to have players out there that will try to compete with us for sure. But we feel like we are set and ready to face a lot of that just because of the infrastructure we've built.
Who does Kula consider to be its competition? That is a great question. Have you got an answer to that? I've got an answer, but I don't know if you've got an answer.
I mean, it would be interesting if it's in the token space. Is it in the traditional finance space? I mean, we just had a question about who we might be angering. I mean, our competition could just be the people that we we anger along this process. So yeah, go for it, Chris.
I think, you know, we about 2 years ago in our business, our first full business plan that we developed, we did the whole market comparison and competitivity analysis, and there's quite a number of token-like projects like Kula that focus on one specific issue, commodity, value, proposition, and there's nothing really that that operates across multiple different industries the way that Kula does at the sub level, and then provide this governance token that allows people to participate in the decision making around all of them in the same way. There's many DAOs that do exist, and they've got their own types of governance processes and their own project focuses. So there'll be an example like Constitution DAO, which was where a group of people came together to almost crowdfund enough money to buy a copy of the US Constitution that was available for purchase at auction. And then they didn't actually achieve that. They couldn't get enough money to win the auction. So then the community decided what they were going to do with that money. Some went back and it became a different project. So there's a number of different attempts and various different focuses across the board. And then there's also some more institutional level and projects that really like back gold, and it's a token that backs gold, and it's coming out those more mainstream institutional sides of what they do. I don't see anything currently in the market quite like Kula. It doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist, because there are projects out there. There's always something going on that you don't know about, and there are some fairly evolved projects that aren't regulated that are actually compliant to the degree they're compliant, but they're not necessarily transferring value the same way that Kula would through its token processes. So AML processes aren't necessarily required. So I think we've developed something fairly unique, and that unique proposition is a DAO-backed, constitutionally driven governance token that then allows people to engage in the allocation of capital to projects that make a real impact in the real world. And so I think that's a fairly unique proposition at the moment on the market.
Well, here's another one. Here's another one for you.
Interesting questions.
Yeah. You spoke about electoral level usage of Kula governance in the future. How do you intend to achieve this? I mean, we can say that's a hypothetical statement, the use of Kula governance, and so we don't have a plan in place in order to achieve it or incentivize any of that. These are all hypothetical use cases for the governance protocol, and so well, I don't know that we need to dive into that too deeply.
I'll just say this: the current governance process allows people to participate in great, robust decision making. And my point was, as things evolve in the future, we will need to keep upgrading and looking at how we do utilize blockchain technology and its evolutions to verify and secure the decision making and voting that does happen. And it was a privilege to meet someone that's actually achieving that and working towards that. And I'm sure in 6 to 12 months we'll start leaning on and utilizing some of that thinking as we build relationship and understand how that works, because it will move in that direction, and we will need to, close loopholes as people find them and exploit them in the underlying contract. And that's part of the joy of ongoing development evolution of this sector. I think we don't know what it can achieve yet fully, and Kula will need to keep evolving as things do change.
Good. Well, is there a mechanism to prevent buying of independent votes from the people through means of buying out user tokens by a certain entity intending to manipulate votes? And we say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything from well, like Chris was saying, there's a lag time from when you purchase tokens from when those tokens are eligible to count as votes. And so there won't be, shuffling tokens around right before a vote in order to increase your voting power. We also have incentives for participating regularly. And so for the more people participate, essentially the more robust your vote becomes. So on the flip side, if you have one entity that's really working to sway one particular vote, but they haven't participated in the DAO ever before, they're going to have a lot harder time to do that. I mean, we have safety net after safety net mechanism. It's not just one mechanism, it's mechanisms working together. Chris, again, this is Chris's specialty, so I'm just going to let him keep going on it.
Even Mike has answered it, so me adding to that is just going to be more confusion and more noise. But yeah, we've worked really hard to mitigate those risks as much as we can. Aware that we won't in some cases, but our biggest win is that at the moment we have opted not to execute contracts automatically. There is a manual step at the very end that we will require someone to physically do that until we really trust the systems working in a way that isn't being manipulated, so that we can guarantee that we're not allocating $2 million worth of token value off to party A without realizing it. So we built some fail safes in there too, that even if all of what Micah just said fails, that's our last stop analysis. But again, even that's on chain and transparent to the world. So that keeps it open and available to be seen.
Yeah.
So this last question that came in here, from someone that came a little late. How will we know when Kula is going live on other platforms? Micah.
Yeah. This is going to come through social media channels. We also do email updates for those of you that have subscribed. So if you haven't subscribed to our email updates, please do so on our website. And then once a month for our investors that may not be comfortable with social media, or they don't have social media, then one of the founders do a Loom video and we send it out that way. So it's a little difficult for that monthly update video to make announcements in a timely manner. But so social media is going to be the best way for people to see the latest announcements. And then once we do that, then you'll also see the platform on which we will be launching. They will also start their media, so their marketing campaign. So there's a couple different ways you'll see that addressed. Excellent. We've made it.
We made it through. The great questions today. These are really some challenging questions. So thank you very much for that.
Wonderful. Oh, one more. Yeah. Since
I'm going to read the question, so you have to answer it. Since there's an automatic contract system in place, can you share a bit more on how the manual mechanism will prevent voter manipulation?
Let's see. The more on how the manual mechanism would prevent. So we've got a few. There's and boy, it sounds like we might even have to do some kind of governance video here, deep dive into governance, because I think even some of these questions are getting a little deeper than we'll normally have for AMAs. But as far as manual mechanisms, so automatic contract systems in place, can you share a bit about the manual mechanisms would prevent vote manipulation? So we have the fact that we have quadratic voting. So if I have 100 tokens and Chris has 10 tokens, you actually take the square root of that, and that's essentially your vote. But then we also have incentives to help people participate and be active in the DAO. The more active you are, the more weight your vote has. And then also this timestamp that we were talking about. If you can't just buy tokens and vote that same day with those tokens. So, I mean, I'm not sure what other kind of description they're wanting, but
yeah, at the very end of the process, once a contract is executed and passed, there is a manual step then for someone to move the finances based on that decision making.
Right. We also, I mean, we've got we have the judicial branch as well, the judicial guild. That's also, if if a a vote is cast or a policy is presented, really, that's what it comes down to. If a policy is presented that doesn't even fit in our values, our core values, or our constitution, our judicial guild will just kick it out straight away. If the community votes to cash out the treasury and distribute it to all token holders, probably not something that aligns with the Kula vision. So that manual mechanism that we keep going back to is really the bottom line is it's the fact that we're not purely decentralized. We see decentralization on a sliding scale, and Kula has an element of centralization, so that there is human interaction. There's basically a group of individuals that have been with Kula since the founding days, the beginning foundational days, that will maintain the vision and the heart and the values of Kula. And so that manual mechanism is the fact that we have centralization. Not fully centralized, obviously, because we have community participation. But if something doesn't align with our company, with our values and the values that everybody is investing in, we're believing that because you buy our tokens, then therefore you align with our values. And so hopefully our community is voting in line with those values. But that centralized entity, whether it's the executive guild, the judicial guild, we're going to ensure that everything is in line with the way we do business. So ultimately, that's the ultimate manual mechanism.
Yeah. And then I would really encourage anyone that's interested in this, you can go to our website, you can get a link, and if it's not there, we can post it on the YouTube video. That this goes to YouTube video, and we can post the link there to our constitution. That constitution maps to the legal foundational documents of the foundation in jurisdiction where the foundation exists, and then in the other direction maps directly against the smart contracts, and you can literally track through our thinking across those three documents, and we can provide that in a link to this video. So for those of you that want to actually dig deeper, you can get the information right there. It's all open source, it's all available, and we're not hiding anything, and you can go really learn and dig deep into that space, and let us know if you find any gaps, because we want to keep learning too, and we need the community to do that.
Yeah, should we test our graphics team here and go, you can click right here to the link in the video, to the link to our constitution. Let's see how they do.
Thank you for the feedback. The person that's been asking these deep dive questions on governance said this is legit innovative. Great work, guys. Thanks for the feedback. That's really encouraging.
Yeah.
Also, tech guy just said, not likely, you can't get the link. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. In the last AMA, we were informed that there were talks going on with some institutional investors. Any updates? Yes, we have institutional investors. We have agreements for larger investments coming in, and institutions, typically you talk into seven figures. That's kind of our minimum for institutional investors, and we have multiple. So one was literally just waiting on us finalizing a banking partnership, and that's really going to be the last domino that fell. The way we have been paying out and using, and basically the banking solution we've been using right now is a US based bank for one of our smaller entities in the Kula space. Now we have a group level bank account. So we've been waiting to funnel those larger investors into that group bank account. And so that's kind of the last domino to fall for some of these larger investors to come in. So yeah, that's good news there. And we're seeing a lot of interest from ultra high net worth, from institutions, and we will keep pursuing those as we build this thing. Well, thanks for all the questions, everybody. Yes, we will be, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be in London for our next AMA. Is that right? For the 36th, the 3-year anniversary of our Kula AMAs, started 1 year after we started this project. It's amazing to think that we had enough to update everybody on 3 years ago, but we did. Apparently people came and listened to us. So we're grateful for this community, grateful for your investment, and just grateful for your belief in the project. So until July, we will see you there. See you then. And please, please, please watch for social media announcements. There's some big things coming out very soon.
Thanks, guys. It's been really good to share this hour with you. And thanks again. Thanks for great questions, and have a great rest of your day.